are all full of authentic points of view. Myself alone have at least 22. They come from the things that we have been through. Those things can either make or break you. Life is full of ups and downs. It's our choice to either smile or frown. Please choose to smile today, because it's one thing that's free to give away. People say that life isn't hard, it's what you make of it, but what if only struggle surrounds you? What can you take from it? Life can be hard and some things aren't fair. Please listen to others just to be aware. All I'm saying, you never know what someone's going through. Just because they look happy doesn't make it true. Hopefully this podcast will help you see you are not alone, you at least got me. We are more alike than you may know, but if we stay quiet, we will never grow. Don't ever give up, because you got this. If you quit, think of all the opportunities that you could miss. Hey everybody, and welcome to Authentic Points of View. I'm Danielle Booher, your host as always. Woohoo! All right, so we have an amazing guest today. I am so excited to talk to him because it seems like he is just so strong and so resilient, and he's helping so many people. And I love that about people. So Skip Sams, he's an award-winning composer, performing artist, multimedia producer, and sober coach. Skip has been sober over 16 years in recovery from crystal meth, alcoholism, and he has bipolar disorder. Welcome, Skip, to the show.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you. So,
Hey.
yay! I really am. Like, truly, like I'm genuinely. And so, okay, when were you diagnosed with bipolar? Like, how old were you? And then did it affect your music career at all?
I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2005.
Oh, okay.
But that's an interesting question, because I was diagnosed with clinical depression in my early 20s, my very early 20s. And I knew, so I had a family member who was diagnosed. I mean, this was the early 80s. There was no term bipolar at that point. It was manic depressive. Right. And this family member was diagnosed families can be depressive, can't they?
That's true. Especially at Thanksgiving. No,
right. Diagnosed manic depressive. And I did, I was, even as a teenager, I didn't study stuff in school as well as I did. I mean, I did, but I didn't do it as well as I did things that I wanted to know about. This is before Google. So I would go to the library, and I remember I wanted to know what manic depressive was. So I went to the library and looked it up, and I'm looking at the symptoms and I'm like, well, that's me. That's me. And I don't think I ever really shared that with anyone for a long time, but yeah, I was dealing with depression. Depression, it had its periods where, I couldn't do anything. So I wasn't doing music at all. I wasn't doing anything. I remember a couple periods where I was just on the sofa. Those periods are kind of, not blackouts, but I don't remember much about those periods other than I went through a dark spell. Does that make sense? I don't remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't remember what happened during those periods. I'm sure I think I missed a lot of work, which I worked for my family. I'm thinking about one of the instances, but it came and went. And sometimes it was triggered by circumstances. And sometimes it just, but I was diagnosed bipolar in 2005, and it was a difficult diagnosis because I was in the depths of crystal meth addiction at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So and actually I thought crystal meth was my cure for bipolar, or because I wasn't manic, and it calmed me down, or whatever I thought it was, just how my brain was always going, and it calmed that down, but I was never depressed in the beginning. Let's put it that way. And many addicts, many addicts, I don't know if it's most, I don't know the statistics, but I know it's very common for addicts and alcoholics to have some kind of mental illness. Well, addiction, and now finally we are looking at addiction as a mental disorder, which I'm very happy about that. But we self-medicate, right? We self-medicate.
Absolutely.
And in the beginning, it's socially acceptable. Oh my God, look what they did. They fucked up. Here, have a drink. Feel better. Sorry, am I allowed to say the F word?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You can.
I always forget to ask that beforehand so I can make sure I watch I don't curse a lot, but when this stuff comes up, the F-bombs come out once in a while. But they were able to, they made a diagnosis in 2005 based upon the stories I told them about my past. And then at that point, also what family members and extended family members, how did it run in the family? What kind of, my grandmother was at least depressed. I kind of look back on it and I don't know, but I think she might have had a bipolar disorder, just looking at symptoms, but I'm not a doctor and she was never diagnosed. So I can't say that for sure.
Yeah.
But based on all that, they made a decision to treat me for it. The best they could, being on crystal meth. When I got sober, if we want to, there was a point I was about to kill myself. I was so depressed. And then that's what got me to being sober. 9 months after I got sober, for 9 months, I was like, we call it a pink cloud. Mine was not pink. It was magenta. I was so full of joy to be, to surrender and to the drug and just be like, nope, I'm powerless, and be on the road to recovery. Out of nowhere, this depression just like, bam, took me way down. And I was like, damn, this is why I got sober. I mean, I was in this state of depression and I was having thoughts of suicide again. I wasn't making a plan, nor did I want to, right? I didn't have the desire to commit my suicide, but those thoughts were coming back. And that it was a good day if I got out of bed and got on the sofa and turned on The Price is Right and watched and did a Sudoku puzzle. That was a good day during those 6 weeks. That depression was a gift because it was through that there had been no drugs or alcohol of any sort in my system for 9 months. So they were able to make a confirmed diagnosis and start treating the true diagnosis and the true symptoms, not the side effects of street drugs.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Do you remember like how you felt when you were high on the drugs, or is it all like a blur? Like, do you remember the feeling that it made you feel? You said it calmed you down, but like,
well, there's so many, I mean, before meth, I mean, I was always a pothead. Actually, I found pot after I did drugs and alcohol. Cocaine I did before I did pot. So it wasn't my gateway drug. It's not my gateway drug.
Not for you. No.
No. In fact, it's so, I mean, this is the true sign of an addict. The first time I did pot, I got so dizzy and I got sick and I threw up everywhere. And I was like, oh, let's smoke some more.
Oh boy.
That's the sign. That's when you know you might have an addiction problem. It's not even the particular substance. It's just but I was always one who wanted uppers. I was down. I may have a bipolar disorder, but always lean on the side of depression. Depression is like 90% of the time. And a lot of those times, it's so funny. There are times where, I've been pretty stable over the last 16 years, but there are still times where it's like you need med adjustments, or there are life situations that, trigger something. And it's normal for anyone to feel a bit of depression at some point in their life.
Right.
That's not abnormal. But, for us with, it's a little more dangerous, but I always wanted the uppers. Heroin? No. I always wanted to feel that up. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, you're good. Whatever you say is awesome. Is whatever pertains to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So hopefully us talking about this will help somebody out there. You're not alone if you're addicted to drugs, and this is what he does. So when we talk about what he does, this is amazing. And so he turned it around and now helps other people. But I'm a nurse, so I've seen people come off of drugs. Were you physically ill for those few weeks, like sick, ill, shaking, or how did you feel? No, that's good.
Coming off crystal meth, it takes more than anything. You just need to sleep.
Okay.
'Cause for 3 years, I slept an average of one night a week.
Oh my gosh. It's horrible.
Yeah. I would sleep on Sunday nights, and I would go to my partner. We were separated at the time, but I would go home. He would make dinner for me, and we'd start to watch a movie, but I'd always fall asleep. And I would stay the night, and I would sleep through the day, and I would get up right before he was going to come home, and then I would go back out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's when you were on it, though, right? Not the recovery part. That's when you were.
But your body, after once you stop it, it's like the body. It needs like a lot of rest. But the other challenge was my brain would not stop.
Yes.
The thought, after the initial week of the body exhaustion, I still have insomnia very bad because my brain was just trained to, and it's 16 and a half years later. So I do take I do take a sleep med to help me, and just even a mild one, but my brain does not stop. It's still the chatter, blah, 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 blah. I could be so freaking tired. And, I think that happens to, it's not abnormal. That happens to a lot of
I go through that
at some point, especially when we're under stress, but mine just does not stop.
Oh, well,
yeah.
At least sleeping meds help you. That's good. 'Cause I've tried certain things and it didn't help me. 'Cause I have been through that where I had so bad insomnia that even now I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night. So it's hard. And you need sleep. And I know somebody that used to do cocaine, and they said that they never slept. Literally, once a week they would finally sleep. But it was just you just were like the Energizer Bunny. You just kept going and going and going. And, so yeah. So, okay. Now,
it was, when I get, it's funny, like when you were saying you sleep 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours a night. There are times where it's so interesting because when I get like down or, I'm down for a period, or if there are times I think, damn, I wish I was manic. I wish I was manic. I would be able to do stuff. I wish I had manic. And then I become manic and I'm like, oh my God, this is so awful. I wish I would just go away, but it's like that wishing, because mania brings about a certain high feeling.
Right.
And, it seems like that sounds like a good idea, but when I have it, it's like, no, this is too painful. So luckily I don't get that often, but,
well, I know a lot of people with bipolar, and my son has bipolar, and so not with him, he's younger, but maybe with him too, because he went through some things. But I had a female friend that was bipolar, and she would get addicted to stuff like randomly. Like, so she would have like 6 weeks where she would spend all of her money on lotto tickets and lie to her husband and like hide it. And she just couldn't stop doing it. She just had to keep doing it. And then she would have like that was in a manic state. It probably wasn't that many weeks, and then she would get really, really depressed because look what I did. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just wasted his money. I'm lying to my husband. And then she would go manic again and she would do something else. And so I saw her go through that roller coaster, and it's hard. It makes me so sad, because I feel so bad. And, it's just like she had no control over it. She just would go through those things. But with my son, he would get to the point where he just wanted to he would just want to fight everybody. That was his style. He just didn't know how to channel the energy, and just it was just everywhere. And I'm like, whoa, come on, you're okay. And, everything got him excited. Even if it excited bad, excited good, excited whatever. There was no in the middle with him. There's and I mean, he's 19 now, so he's calmed down a lot. But there was no in the middle. He was either one way or the other. And it's hard, and as a loved one and as a parent, you want to fix it. And you're just like, what do I do? And then he started, I don't talk about this on here, but, he started smoking, weed young, and that was hard. And I was trying to get him off of it. Then he got in trouble in probation. I mean, he's been through a lot. And so, then he went to jail, and, kids jail, but still. And that was one of the best things that happened to him, because when he got on juvenile probation in Georgia, 17 is a legal adult somehow. It's weird in the judicial system, but not in the everything else. So I told him, this is what we told him, because it was true. If you got in trouble one more time, you're now 17, you're going to go to adult probation. It's going to carry you through your jobs, through your life, through everything. So that scared him. And the last time he went to juvenile, I don't want to call it a prison, but the jail, we kept him in there because he was getting into so much bad stuff. It was dangerous. It was dangerous for him and others. So he stayed in there for days. And then he was like, oh, this crap ain't for me. And so luckily, and then I let him move with his father, because his father used to get in a lot of trouble. His father definitely has to be bipolar. Again, never got diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure of it. And then, but yeah, so it's seeing his dad at 40 still, being whatever, it actually opened his eyes, and he doesn't get in trouble anymore. He's doing great in society, and I'm so happy for him. So, you're right. Sometimes it takes those down moments to open your eyes and be like, oh shit, I don't want to live like this. I cannot. So when were you diagnosed with HIV? And then what was your reaction? If you're going through all this stuff already, how did you feel when you got that diagnosis?
It was 2004. So I was in the depths of addiction. So I was, you know, I was, I was using intravenously. I was always trying to use clean needles. So there, I don't want to go too in depth about this, but there was a certain incident, and I can't know for sure exactly if that's where I got it. So on one hand, it doesn't matter. But when I got, so there were a couple different layers there of like how I felt, right?
Okay.
And but it did. I got so freaking lonely.
Oh.
It was very. When I was infected, I had like the textbook severe, like 2 weeks after I was infected, I got very sick, and since was a blessing, because I could have gone for months and maybe, and a year and not known. I got tested pretty regularly. So I may not have known if I didn't get so sick, but I was so sick. And I went home to my partner's, and I was for 2 weeks. And finally at the end of the second week, he was like, either you're getting in a cab and going to the hospital, or I'm coming to the ER, where I'm having the ambulance come and get you.
Yeah.
So I went to the hospital, and the doctors immediately thought I had meningitis because of all of my symptoms. And they wanted to do, I can't think of it right now. My brain just.
Like a lumbar puncture or spinal tap or something like that.
Spinal tap, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kept telling them, I'm like, you don't need, I don't have meningitis. I'm seroconverting. And they're like, how do you know that? So seroconverting is the point where the virus becomes active in your body. So and that's when, like, you could get tested before, even though the virus is in your body, and you test seronegative, blood negative. But then when you convert to seropositive, that's the point where it becomes active and you test positive. So I told them I'm seroconverting, and they're like, how do you know that? And so I told the doctor, I told her what happened, and she was like, God forbid, Mr. Sams, you are ever sexually assaulted again, but go to the emergency room right away, because within 72 hours, there's prophylactics that we doctors take if we're exposed that will most likely prevent. And I was like, why didn't I know that? This was 2004. And she was like, because I remember she was like, because the federal administration doesn't want people to know about it, because they don't want them to think of it as the after Plan B pill. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's like that information could have saved so many lives. I don't know if I would have done that or not. I don't know, because I was so high. I would have been afraid of being in trouble for getting, high or whatever. I may have, I may not have, but that Thursday. So, and at that time in 2004, the emergency room was not allowed to administer HIV test.
Wow.
So once they realized it wasn't meningitis, and I told them the story, they sent me home. They filled me up with like fluids and stuff through the IV, but then they sent me home and set up an appointment follow up with a doctor. So I went, sorry.
It's okay.
I went on that Monday to his office and got an HIV test. And they did at that time, rapid ones had just become available. Rapid as in 4 days. Now it's like within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Or 5 days it was then. So why I was at the hospital, they were able to do blood work on like the virus. It's weird. They couldn't do the test, but they were allowed to do the blood work to find out like the blood levels and the virus levels and the T cell count and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday I went. And my test came back, HIV test came back negative. Friday, I went back when he got the results for the blood work. And my viral load was in the millions.
Wow.
And my T cells had dropped down to below 400, which meant that they were just wiped out. Like, you know, the virus was like kicking in big time. So that was kind of, and it happened that this is really weird, different circumstance, but my parents, when they thought I was dying from meningitis in the emergency room, they live 300 miles away. They were at the hospital in 6 hours. And
wow.
You know, they flew, on the highway the whole way there. And because the doctor said if he has meningitis, he probably has 24 hours. That's how sick I was. Wow. I mean, I was like, my shit was going across the room. It was horrible. So they were there, and then they went back to Ohio, and then they came back the next weekend and were there for my follow-up doctor's appointment. So they were in the room when I found out that I had. When I got they were in the room when I got the T cell count and the viral load count. And so they were in the room when they found out it was HIV. And I was just kind of numb, you know, and tired, exhausted. And yeah, that summer that followed, I remembered that I felt like, and then this happened again, but the depression set in so much that I just felt like I could not imagine that anyone on earth could feel any lonelier. I'm not saying that I was the only one who felt it, but I could not imagine anyone feeling it any more than what I was. So, and then, you know, I had people say stupid things. So the fact that I was sexually assaulted and that I have HIV are two different topics, right? Because whether I contracted HIV that way or not, I was sexually assaulted, right? But there are people, and this is why it's difficult to talk about them as the same thing, because people will want to say, well, you should have seen it coming, right? You're a drug addict. You were, you know, having sex with multiple partners. You were shooting up. And it was like, so you should have, like, I deserve it, right? And the message there at the same time is, well, you were sexually assaulted, you deserve it. You know, it's that, you see what I mean? It's like they're two different topics. They're two different.
Right.
I may have gotten it that way. And because of the way I got sick 2 weeks later after the incident happened and just the coincidence of it, I believe that's the way. My doctors kind of thought that's probably how. So that came in more into play when I had to do some of my step work in recovery and matters of forgiveness and my resentments and working through all of that. That's when that really came into play. But nobody nobody deserves to get HIV. Nobody deserves to get COVID. Nobody, it's not like we do something so we get sick, right? There are precautions that we take to reduce the risk, but even with masks, people are getting COVID, right? So you wear a mask that it's reduces the risk, but it doesn't take away the risk.
Right.
Like I was using clean needles. One of those needles could have been I didn't always make my own. So somebody could have used, but yeah, it's that kind of, and then we saw that come up again this last summer in the United States and Europe when monkeypox came about, and it suddenly become a gay disease. And it's like, no, it's not. You don't get monkeypox because you're gay. It's not a punishment, right? It's going through the community, and the community can do things to like work and stop it, which we did. Yeah, anyway.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, nobody deserves anything that could potentially kill you. I mean, or nobody deserves to get sexually assaulted, for goodness freaking sake. That pisses me off. And people just, here's the thing. Everybody wants to judge. And no, I've talked about this several times, even today, actually earlier. But everybody wants to judge, but the people doing the judging and the bullying and all that stuff, they're miserable themselves. So It's like, I hate that. But yeah, you have to forgive, and you have to forgive yourself and the others and the people that have said things to you, or that person that physically hurt you. And that's hard to do, but you don't deserve that. Nobody does.
So how that healing process took place was, and my step work, the fourth step is we took a moral inventory of ourselves, a fearless and moral inventory of ourselves. And that means courageous, a courageous inventory. And there's certain things that we ask, like what are the great misresentments I have? And it's difficult because we look at them and we name it, we name the person, we name the story. We talk about how it affects us, my self-esteem, my affected my wallet, affected my dreams, but then it comes back to what's my part in it?
Right. And
that's really difficult. Mm-hmm. There's some of it's kind of easy. It's like, I'm mad at my sister because she told my mom I did this, and she told on me and I did this and this. Well, what's my part in it? Well, I did this and this and this and lied to my mom, or I lied to my sister about it. There's like, or I tried to blame my sister. So my sister had, what I mean? There's that kind of stuff but then there's the stuff like I was sexually assaulted. What's my part in that? It was a crime. It was definitely a crime. And it took a while, and seeing my part in it does not mean that I'm at fault. Okay? Right. Seeing my part in it does not mean I'm at fault. My part in it was the person I was hanging out with, he had tried something before, but he had drugs, and I continued to hang out with him. Mm-hmm. And when it happened, I was so high, and I had been up for a week, and I was on a sleeping night, and I was so asleep that I didn't even know it happened. Wow. So what's my part in that? Everything he did was criminal. 100%. And under different circumstances, if I wasn't high, I may have gotten DNA samples. I could have gotten, so many things and had him convicted. But the point of it is to look at my part. I was high. I was high. I was not taking care of myself. It doesn't take away the blame from him. It doesn't excuse any bit of him. It doesn't make me at fault for it happening. There's a very fine line there. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not putting myself at fault. But I have to take responsibility for my life. And when I realized that if I wasn't high, it wouldn't have happened. So I'm not blaming myself, but what can I take away from that? Don't get high. Right?
Right.
And forgive myself for being high and allowing me to put myself in that situation. And once I was able to do that, I'm able to forgive him. It's the weirdest thing. It doesn't mean that I forget it. Mm-mm. It doesn't mean that I think about it and I still could get sad or angry, or have certain emotions be triggered at certain times.
Right.
But I can forgive myself. So I would still have him convicted if, but forgiveness could still take place, because forgiveness is forgiving me peace.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, go ahead.
So I'd like to continue this, because there are people, when I talk about this, yes, there were people who were abused sexually or physically or mentally as kids. And what's their part in it? Children have no part in it.
Right.
I was being sexually abused when I was 12 years old. I thought I was seeking it out. Right. But my sister pointed out to me once, Skip, if a 12-year-old approached you, I'm like, oh no, stop, don't go there. And she's like, exactly. Those men were adults.
Right.
You may have figured out a way to let them know, but so, that was not my, I don't have a part in that. Even if I thought I did, what is it today when I do that work? What's my part in it now? My part in it now is if I'm still reliving that trauma, if I keep reliving it, if I'm holding on to it today, and if I'm not getting treatment, if I'm not getting help, I'm the one who's living with it in today.
Yeah.
I'm the one who keeps recreating it in my head. That part I'm responsible for. That part I'm responsible for what happened. That's in the past. So that's where we talk about taking responsibility for our lives. Taking responsibility for what can I do now? How can I take care of that inner child, that 12-year-old Skip that was sexually molested over and over? How can I take care of him now? And that is, and I have been, I've been a very good parent to that child, since I got sober. And, I take care of him. I protect him. I've gotten him treatment. I'm talking about the inner child in me, right?
I know exactly what you mean. Yep. And, wow. So you've made a lot of great points, and I think this opens up eyes to people that maybe have never, maybe they've never had a mental illness, right? I think we all have something going on, but they've never been diagnosed with something. They've never been addicted to drugs. They've never been assaulted. But think about this. If you can put yourself in a 12-year-old's shoes, how devastating would it be? How broken would you feel at the time? And it's not your fault. It's never the child's fault. You're right. It's not It's not their fault. It's disgusting. It makes me so sad. And I'm so sorry you went through that. But people are so quick to judge. But just think about that. What if it's happening to your child? Or what if it's happening? What if it happened to you when you were younger? Now, wouldn't you maybe go down the path of trying to cover it with anything that you could cover it with, right? And so that's the thing. If we all think about it from the other person's point of view, and that's why my show is called Authentic Points of View. But if you think about it from the other perspective and just say, hey, how would I feel if I was going through this? How would I get through this? You know, maybe I would be in the same situation as you are, Skip. I don't know. So I'm so sorry you went through that. But all this leads up to your coaching, and you're actually just coached us right now. So I want to say thank you for that. No, seriously, the words that you said, that's exactly probably what you help your clients with. Now, when did you start the coaching? How long after being sober did you start coaching?
The coaching part, it kind of happened gradually. It kind of happened organically. I didn't start defining myself as a coach until 2014, when I realized kind of what was happening. And I have a very high respect for professional coaches, and who take the time to get training, make sure that they're involved in, we don't have state regulations, but we do have organizations such as the International Federation of Coaches that hold us to a very high ethical standard. And, so I wanted to make sure that I was part of that team, so I went back to school for a year. I went to University of Miami 2 years after I got sober, went back and got my master's in music.
Wow.
And, but I went back in 2014 for a year and got certified as a professional coach. So I have a certification from the University of Miami in Florida. And I'm also, along with that, I forget the word. They're accredited by the International Coaching Federation. So
awesome.
I'm certified by them as well. And, but it started when I went to grad school, and, I'm going to go back a little further, because this is kind of important of the path and like how I've gotten to the kind of coaching I am today.
Sure.
When I got sober, I was not able to play the piano. I could not sing. 3 years before, I was in 2012, so it had been 20 years ago, like right around this time. It was a beautiful fall day, and the sky was crystal blue, and the leaves, the sun was just glowing like fluorescent orange on the trees and golden yellow. It was the perfect Midwest fall. And I'm in the back of a cab leaving my drug dealer's house. And we're getting off the exit to my place, and I'm looking at all this beauty and just taking it in. And my thought was, I'm going to close my recording studio and become a crystal meth dealer so I can use full time.
Oh, wow.
That is the thought that changed, everything for a few years. 3 years later, I was so depressed that I would have a house full of people having a, using party in one room, and I would be in the living room by myself, curled up on the couch, just feeling so alone. And there was one morning I woke up and I was just like, Skip, you're almost 40 years old. Every opportunity life has given you over the last 20 years, you have just like effed it up. You've self-sabotaged. Today is the day the pain ends. Just get up and go jump in front of the L. And it's what we call the subway here in Chicago.
Train, yeah.
And there was something about that thought that that moment, that gift of desperation, I call it, that the other side of the brain started doing the math. Like, well, if you're almost 40 and you've messed up the last 20 years, why don't you do something? What if you did something the next 20 years to like counterbalance that and do some real good? Then you would live to be 60. Oh my gosh, Skip, if you did that, you could live to be 80. And wow. And I had never seen my life past 40 ever. And when I had that thought, and I remember it very clearly, because remember, I'm a songwriter, I'm a lyricist, I'm a poet.
Yeah.
And what came to mind was, your life doesn't have to be over. It could be half over.
Wow.
And that was the aha moment to get sober. And that day the pain was going to end, but it wasn't going to be because I was going to jump in front of the train. It was because I was going to ask for help. And, so one thought can change our life.
Absolutely.
If we act on it. We have thoughts all the time. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're not so good. We have 60,000 thoughts a day, I heard. So sometimes they're just repetitive, and, some don't really, we take action on thoughts all day long, but these big ones stick out. And I had the thought, I'm going to close my recording studio and sell meth. I acted on it, and it changed the course of my life. 3 years later, I had the thought, life doesn't have to be over. It could be half over. And I took action on that thought, and it changed the course of my life. So when I got sober and I couldn't play the piano and I couldn't sing, I thought music was gone from my life. And I hated myself for it, because that part of me died. I really felt that part of me died. I killed it, but I wanted to be alive, so I had to be okay with it. So I started taking classes at I started taking art classes at the community college.
Nice.
So I could have a creative outlet. And I didn't know anything about it, but I just wanted to do something new. And because it was community college, everything was graded, which I didn't care. But I say that because, well, at first I was getting D's, and they were very gratuitous D's, let me tell you, because, I sucked. But again, I didn't care. I was just happy to be doing something creative. But at the end of 9 months, after a few quarters, my grades went from C's, and then I was getting some B's. And so I noticed that, wow, I'm getting better. Something I've never done before, and that I never even thought it was in me, but I can do it, and I'm getting better. And it just dawned on me one day. I don't remember the exact moment, but it was, if I can do this with something I've never done and get better, why can't I do it with music? And so I was like, yeah, just start over. So I pulled out like the elementary books and, just started from the very beginning to relearn.
Aww.
And I got it back. It took some time. But I mean, it came back, it within the course of the year. I didn't have my voice back, but my music theory, I was able to start getting music theory back. I was able to play decently. I've never been at like a concert pianist, right? Piano has always been for me, it's just writing my songs, more of a tool. And so that's when I went back to grad school and said, I'm going to get my master's, started writing film scores for movies.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then I moved to New York to study tap dancing for almost 2 years. Because
Wow.
I had done that from the age of 5 to 15, but I got bullied so much that and it's
No.
like, I'm sober and, I'm invincible. Didn't really think that, but it was like, I can do things I set my mind to.
Yeah.
And also during that time, because of my, it started as one of my meetings was they did guided meditations. And so I started doing that. And with the guided meditations, then I started recording them with my music, and stuff like, so I was starting to combine things, and people heard my guided meditations and then called me and asked me to come to their retreats and be like to lead the guided meditations. So then I was getting out there in different settings, and people were getting to know me, and then they were starting to open up to me and share, and then looking for guidance. And that's when I started to notice that these people are wanting me to coach them. It was kind of, I'm kind of like, I sponsor people in the 12 steps, and this is not the same thing. This was more like a mentor. And that's when I went back to school to do that. So now I work with musicians and artists and creatives who are in recovery of some kind, whether that is recovery from, mental illness or drug addiction, trauma recovery, but people who are reclaiming their creativity without the use of drugs or alcohol, or with the use of, that's corresponding with their treatment of some kind for these different things. And I have just the experience that I went through, that I'm able to, I don't tell people exactly what to do, but as a coach, I help them figure out what's your passion, what's important to you, what's the purpose you want to give to this earth, what is it you want to leave, and then how can we take that and manifest it through your creativity?
Yeah. Wow. How cool. I love that. It's so good that you channeled all of your past trauma and different experiences, and now you're helping others. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's what we should all do. And I'm going through that similar. Actually, I have one certification for life coach, and I'm working on another one. And I've talked about this a lot lately. I didn't talk about it for years, and now I'm talking about it. I actually witnessed my brother commit suicide via telephone. So, so I want to start helping teens and different people, but not just that. I've been through a lot of things. I was a teen mom and just all kinds of stuff, but in abusive relationships and, just a lot of things. But so I feel like, that's most of our purpose is what we can do is channel it for good. But then when we see how we've helped others, that's such a reward in itself. It's such a natural high, right? To feel yes, I've made a difference in their life. Look how much they've came around and changed, and you're there for them, and you can see the growth in the process, and you already saw it in yourself. But it's hard to see your own self, but when you see it through somebody else, it's such a beautiful thing. What is your mission when it comes to coaching? I think it was 10,000 our musicians, or what was it?
Yeah. So I would like to be able to help 10,000 musicians and artists by the year 2030. So and inspire them to use their gifts in the form of, recording a total of 10,000 tracks.
Awesome.
And 10,000 performances, And so how do I keep track of that? I'm still, my clientele is still small enough. It's growing, but it's still small enough that I work with my groups one-on-one, that I'm able to like keep track. But I'm putting together in this next year a website where people can check in, like, yeah, I recorded this track, and I'm going to create a library of people that I worked with and having them submit their songs, not for any competition or anything like that, but just put it in the library so, everyone can inspire one another. And performance, that doesn't matter if they get up at a coffee shop and perform one song. I have one client right now. He used to be a professional performer and stage shows. But now he's afraid to get up to do one song in front of karaoke.
Oh.
So for him to get up and do one song at karaoke, that performance is huge.
Yep.
And so it doesn't, then, if he gets back to doing a professional show and he gets into 300 shows a year, that's great. But it took that one karaoke to start the process. And that counts just as much. If I can help someone get over that, then that's something to truly be celebrated.
Absolutely. It's one step at a time, just like you, in AA and everything, they talk about the programs, just like you were talking about the steps. It is, even if you take 5 steps forward and it takes you a month, it's still progress, right? Even if we take a step back and then we're scared again, so say he goes to go to the karaoke and he's too scared. At least you took the step to go physically there.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So it's like every step is progress and working towards the goal. So those little ABC, all those steps, they add up to the final results. So we have to celebrate those things, because it's like you said, what a beautiful accomplishment. Even if he does just one performance in front of people, and I was like, it's so fearful. So like, it's okay. I started comedy and I was so sick to get on stage that I almost like threw up. Like it's scary to me. And so then I actually was in a speaking contest, and I'm going to do it again, but I was shaking so bad that I was scared. And so my message didn't get received like it was supposed to, because I was letting the fear, and this just happened like a weekend ago, but the fear was holding me back. So it's like, once we get through those things we're scared of, it's like the weight is lifted off of our shoulders. And so it's a journey, though. It's like a slow journey. It's not just like A to Z and we're there, bam, you have to take little tiny steps. I think that's beautiful that you're helping people like that. That's so
Danielle,
amazing.
When you're talking about fear, however great the fear is, the opportunity to allow that much more courage.
Wow.
And courage is always available to us. Courage is within us. We keep it trapped. So however great the fear is, the opportunity to allow that much more courage.
Wow, that was really deep. Thank you. That's amazing. But you're right. Absolutely. You can channel your energy to being courageous instead of being fearful. And I wish I knew his name. It was Lou something. He is Asian. I don't know if he's a monk, but he said that the fear is something that's in the future. So we're scared of something that hasn't even happened yet. And he's like, how silly does that sound? When you say it out loud, we're scared of something that doesn't even exist, And so when you think of it that way, and like you said, with being courageous, all it takes is we channel that energy, the nervous energy. Sometimes it's good to be nervous a little bit. That means you care, but not so fearful that you can't accomplish what you're supposed to do. So being courageous and, you know, being brave. And the fact that I auditioned, I was proud of myself. I was like, I actually went through it.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't, you know, and that's something they said to us. But so what advice do you have for someone that, has bipolar and they're working in a career, or somebody that's addicted to drugs? What advice do you have for them?
Be courageous. Ask for help. It is courageous when somebody goes into a 12-step meeting for the first time. We applaud them, and that is because we applaud the courage that they are showing by showing up. They are, you know, they're feeling shame, they're feeling fearful, they're walking past all of that baby step of walking through those doors and sitting down in a chair. That's why, you know, when they say they have one day clean, we applaud them. And that's why we recognize their courage. You had just mentioned something about faith or fear, being afraid of the future. Fear and faith are two sides of the same coin. They're both expecting something that we cannot see and something that hasn't happened yet. So we get to choose faith or fear. We get to choose courage or fear. And that is a choice. Once we are aware of that, once we are aware and we can admit we're powerless over drugs, we become empowered. Like the first step of the 12 steps is we admitted we were powerless and our lives become unmanageable. Well, yeah, I can admit my life's unmanageable, but I'm not powerless. I should be able to stop this on my own. Well, the way to stop it on your own, you know, I should be able to control this. Well, the way to get out of that is just don't use it, and there's nothing to control, right? But we have to become aware of that. Am I powerless over bipolar disorder? Yeah, I am. It's there. But I am empowered. I am empowered when I seek help. I am empowered by seeking help. I am empowered by working with doctors and getting medical treatment, and taking medication, which is a miracle. Medication is a miracle. I'm empowered when I, get checked up on that regularly. I'm empowered when I have those times like, I'm doing so well right now. Do I really need these meds? Yes, right. There's that.
Yeah, right.
So many people think that, but I am empowered enough to know that life is so good right now. Whether I'm taking these drugs. Why would I want to change it? Because I'm feeling fine right now. Why would I want to? It's the same with why would I want to risk if I could drink one beer? Life is so good. Why do I need that one beer to even find out? I don't know. That's probably that's to bring it back in a nutshell. Choose courage. It is there. It is readily available, and asking, sometimes it shows up in the smallest of way of just saying to someone, I need help.
Yeah. Well, wow. Thank you so much. And we all need help sometimes. And so it's beautiful that you started your coaching, and I'm so grateful for all that you're doing. And even if they go to, a psychiatrist or whatever, somebody get a diagnosis or to, like you said, go to the first meeting, that's such a beautiful thing. And it takes a lot of courage, like you said, to do that. So where can we find you? I see your website is right there, but if you want to just say it out loud, if somebody's just listening and not looking at it.
skipsams.com, SKIPSAMS. You can find me as Skip Sams on Facebook. That's where I do most of my social media still. I do have Instagram, Sober on Stage, and I'm on TikTok as Sober on Stage. I haven't really played with that one yet. My sister says she's going to help me. I do have a coaching website, mysuccess.coach. It's mysuccess.coach, not dot the other one. I don't even want to say it because it confuses people. mysuccess.coach. But if you Google Skip Sams, my LinkedIn is there, Facebook is there. Skip Sams is a pretty uncommon name, so it comes up.
All right. That's so awesome. Yes, please reach out. And your coaching, do you also do virtual too? Like if somebody's not in your area, do you do like
almost?
Okay, good. All virtual.
95% is virtual. I have a couple people in Chicago that I'll see occasionally in person, but even still, I will, because right now I'm coaching. I do individual coaching a little bit. Mostly what I do right now is groups, working in small groups. And I have one program called Making Amends with Your Muse. And that is a 12-week program about, and I won't go into it too much, but it's like as we make amends with people and rebuild our relationships, my cat's getting hungry. If you can see him over here.
It's okay.
This is Spats. He likes to be.
Hi.
Now he doesn't want to be. He usually does. Anyway.
I have 2 cats. They're in the other Yeah.
Yeah. So Making Amends with Your Muse is just so like cute. It's just like making amends with your relationship with music, kind of like I did and had to start over. And then I have another move your music forward in recovery. And so that's how to take the tools of recovery that we've learned and apply them to advancing our music career, whether that's as a hobbyist or as a professional. And then I'm starting up some year-long goal programs starting in January. So
that's so awesome. Well, I think that's beautiful, and music surely has helped me through so many instances, and I am not a musician, but I joke. So I do loosely rap. The intro, I wrote it myself, and I do my intro myself. So
cool.
People tease me and they think, so I really enjoy it. I love to write stuff. I wrote a sitcom pilot, and I'm just wrote some pages for a book that I'm a co-author in, and then I love music. So, people said that I need to turn it into a real song, but who knows about that? So I love music, and actually I will try. I'm actually incorporating that in my life coaching actually. So, I was speaking to a millionaire real estate guy. And so, cause my show's about everything, I talk to everyone. And so he said, "Hey, you should be a life coach." We were talking off air, and I was like, "I've always wanted to do that." And that's before I got my certification. And so he said, I told him I rapped the intro, and he's like, "A rapping like life coach? I've never heard of that." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So in my life coaching, I'm actually incorporating that in the program. Throughout the program, we're going to either write a poem, a rap, a song, something like that. And that's going to be like our end result, and to like see the progress. And I think that's going to be so fun. And it was something that, him saying that actually gave me that idea. And nice. I think that then you'll see something written down, and not only will you see your notes and your homework and all that stuff and the actual results of how you feel, but you'll have written words down of how you felt through the process. Every week you write down like a line or something. And I think that would be really cool. So I think what you're doing is amazing. And I really enjoyed talking to you. Your cat is so cute. And yay. All right. So if you guys need him, reach out to him. He's doing beautiful, wonderful things. And I'm very proud of you for all that you have accomplished in your life. And you're welcome. In the process that, you just literally are using it for good. And I'm so proud of you. I've seen so many people pass away from drug addictions and everything. And so the fact that you're making a difference in people's lives, in your own life, and it just shows that your purpose on this earth, you probably have a lot of purposes, but one of them is to help others and to make a difference and to just show them like you can get through this, right? So I'm thankful for you. Thank you for talking to us. It means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing your vulnerable story. I mean, it's very vulnerable to talk about those things. And I'm very grateful for you and how far you come. So great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I would love to keep in touch with you and just see how you're doing. And your coaching is amazing. Like just the whole premise of it. And because you're a writer, the way that the names, I love names of stuff. And I love the names that you said. I'm like, ooh, that is clever. I think it's so cool. So, all right, we will talk again. And thank you so much. And you have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye, Skip.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Authentic Points of View podcast. I hope that something you heard today changes your point of view. If you would like to share your views, please email me at authenticpointsofview@gmail.com or leave a comment on Facebook at Authentic Points of View podcast. Remember, always be mindful of other people's journeys and have open ears and an open heart.